I wasn't supposed to find out like that. If my wife had planned it, she would have chosen something cleaner, a suspicious receipt, a lipstick stain, a late-night message I wasn't meant to see. But fate has a cruel sense of humor. It was a Thursday evening. I was in my office finishing up invoices when my phone buzzed. I glanced down and saw my wife's name, Sana, lighting up the screen. FaceTime. I smiled automatically. She rarely called me during the day unless it was important. I assumed she needed help with something at home. I answered. At first, all I saw was darkness and movement. The camera was facing upward, maybe placed on a table or bed. I heard laughter, a man's laughter, then Sana's voice, soft, playful. "Stop it," she giggled. "You're crazy." I frowned. The camera shifted slightly, enough for me to see a ceiling fan spinning slowly, a hotel room ceiling. My stomach tightened. Then I saw her. She stepped into view, fixing her hair, wearing a robe I had never seen before. It wasn't ours. It wasn't from home. And then a man's arm reached into the frame, wrapping around her waist from behind. My brain refused to process it at first, until I recognized the voice. "You worry too much," the man said. "He'll never know." That voice. I knew that voice better than my own. It was my younger brother, Hamza. For a few seconds, I couldn't breathe. The sound around me faded into a dull ringing. I stared at the screen like it was a horror movie I couldn't turn off. They were too busy laughing to notice the tiny square in the corner that showed I had answered. Sana leaned back against him. "You're sure he suspects nothing?" Hamza asked. She shook her head confidently. "He trusts me. He trusts you." The irony almost made me choke. My thumb hovered over the screen. I could have ended the call. I could have pretended I never saw it and gathered evidence quietly. But something darker in me wanted them to feel it. So I cleared my throat and calmly said, "Hi." Everything froze. It was like someone had paused the world. Sana's smile dropped instantly. Hamza's face drained of color. For half a second, neither of them moved. Then she grabbed the phone so fast it fell sideways. I saw a flash of panic in her eyes before the screen went black. The call ended. Silence filled my office. I sat there staring at my reflection in the dark screen. My wife, my brother, in a hotel room. The betrayal wasn't just romantic, it was blood. Hamza wasn't just my sibling. He was the one I helped pay through university. The one I gave a job to when he struggled. The one I defended when our father said he was irresponsible. And Sana? 7 years of marriage, shared holidays, shared grief when we lost our mother, shared dreams of starting a family. All of it shattered in a 5-second FaceTime mistake. My phone rang immediately. Sana. I let it ring. Then Hamza. I ignored that too. They called again, and again, and again. Finally, I answered Sana's call. She was crying already. "It's not what it looked like," she said desperately. I almost laughed. "You were in a hotel room with my brother. What exactly did it look like?" she sobbed. "We were just talking." "In robes?" I cut in. She had no answer. Then Hamza's voice came from the background. "Let me talk to him." I hung up. For the next hour, I sat in complete stillness. Anger came in waves. First hot and explosive, then cold and calculated. I didn't drive home immediately. Instead, I called my lawyer. The next day, I did something neither of them expected. I invited the entire family to dinner. My father, my aunt, even Hamza. I texted Sana, "Be home by 7. We're having family over." She replied with a simple, "Okay." I arrived early and waited. Sana came home looking like she hadn't slept. Her eyes were swollen. She tried to speak to me privately, but I walked past her. At 7 p.m., everyone was seated in the living room. Hamza avoided my eyes. Dinner was tense but polite. Small talk. Forced smiles. After dessert, I stood up. "I want to thank everyone for coming," I began calmly. Sana's hands started shaking. "I also want to clear up something before rumors start." Hamza stiffened. I took out my phone and mirrored it to the TV. I had screen recorded the FaceTime call after I said hi. The part where they panicked, the hotel room, the robe, Hamza's face. Gasps filled the room. My father stood up abruptly. What is this? This, I said steadily, is my wife and my brother in a hotel room yesterday afternoon. Sana burst into tears. Hamza tried to speak, but our father silenced him with a glare I had never seen before. How long? My aunt whispered. Sana couldn't answer. Hamza finally muttered, It just happened. Don't lie, I snapped for the first time. The truth spilled out under pressure. It had been going on for 8 months. 8 months of family gatherings, 8 months of inside jokes, 8 months of me shaking my brother's hand while he slept with my wife. My father looked 10 years older in that moment. You have shamed this family, he said quietly to Hamza. Then he turned to Sana, and you destroyed it. The fallout was immediate. Hamza was cut off financially, removed from the family business. My father disowned him publicly within our extended relatives. Sana tried everything over the next few days, begging, crying, blaming me for being emotionally distant, blaming Hamza for pursuing her, blaming stress. But I had reached a strange calm. You didn't just cheat, I told her one night. You chose the one person who would hurt me the most. She whispered, I never meant for you to find out. That's the only part you regret. The divorce process started within the week. Because of the evidence, and because we lived in a region where adultery carried serious social consequences, she had little leverage. The house was in my name. The savings were mostly from my income. She moved into a small rented apartment across the city. Hamza left town entirely. I heard he tried to call me months later. I blocked the number without listening. The hardest part wasn't losing her. It was losing the version of my life I thought was real. Trust doesn't break loudly. It collapses silently, like glass cracking from the inside. 6 months later, I ran into Sana at a grocery store. She looked thinner, quieter. I never thought you'd expose us like that, she said softly. I looked at her evenly. I never thought you'd betray me like that. She nodded slowly, accepting it. I loved you, she said. Maybe, I replied, but not enough to protect what we had. As I walked away, I realized something important. Their biggest mistake wasn't the affair. It was arrogance. They were so sure I would never know. So sure I trusted blindly. So sure they were smarter than consequences. All it took was one accidental FaceTime call and one simple word. Hi,